Welcome everybody to Thursdays with Franco, where we talk autonomous and Apex and things associated with autonomous and Apex. So today's show is actually got a couple of special guests to the show that we normally don't see. One is Jason Grogan, and the other one is Tim Hickey. So Jason, can you just let us know, what are you up to in Australia and what's your current role?
So I used to be a regular on Thursdays with Franco, but now I've moved over to run the infrastructure and security specialists team covering all of ANZ. So I've got a team of infrastructure specialists and security specialists, and I have one development evangelist as well. So really looking after the building blocks of OCI. So covering all the networking, storage, compute, GPUs, VMware on OCI, and then obviously, as I say, all the IAM security design and compliance as well. So yeah, got a fairly busy now, Franco.
So for people, just to paraphrase, Jason Grogan leads a team of specialists across Australia and New Zealand, whether it's elements of compute, storage, networking, development, a variety of capabilities here. And we're very fortunate to have him on the call. And the reason we've got him on the call is because we've got another special guest, Tim Hickey. Now, Tim, can you tell us, what you do, where you are, and what time is it where you are?
So my name's Tim Hickey. I'm a master principal cloud architect at Oracle. It's about 9 p.m. at night. I am about 58 miles from the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C., and I support the Department of Defense with the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure.
That's great. That's great. And as you can see, today, we're going to be talking about this thing called the Roving Edge. And as we've got Jason roving across Australia right now in this vehicle, I might get Jason to kick off the conversation with Tim about, what we're talking about here today.
Thanks, Franco. Yeah, this is something that we've seen. It's been in OCI in other countries, and we're looking forward to it coming to Australia. But this is the Roving Edge Compute. So it's Oracle's designed for actually having edge compute that can actually feed back to your OCI tenancy. And we thought it would be a great chance for our old friend Tim, who used to actually be based in Australia, who's now, as he said, working with the DoD in America there, to actually come on and tell us a little bit about what the Roving Edge is and what services we can actually provide. So Tim, take it away. Tell us all about the Roving Edge.
All right, I'm glad to be here. So the Roving Edge is our technical edge device. So this is a way for you to take a bit of your OCI cloud and actually take it out of our cloud, move it to your remote data center or your location, be able to plug this environment in and have access to, in our Rover device, we have 40 CPUs and a GPU. And then this with object storage and networking. And this gives us the ability to sync our object storage back and forth to our OCI cloud tenancy. And this way, if the device is in an area where it's unable to connect, it will just stack up all the information and then it sends it back to us. And then we have a smaller version of this called the Ultra, which is about 8 CPUs, but again, designed for the same workload.
So you're saying it's actually got compute and GPUs and storage all in it's like in a hard case, isn't it? Like, so you can actually take it out and put it in. So this could be a defense scenario. It could be sitting in the back of a sub or a boat or something, but it also could be for mining and things like that, somewhere where it's a harsh environment, but you need edge computing or GPU computing, and that you then want to connect to sensors, but then take back to the mothership or back to the OCI tenancy at some point and share that data back with applications in your tenancy.
Yes, those are perfect use cases. Where we've done some testing already is we've taken one of the devices and we've configured it with our identity management suite of products, and then we've integrated that with a fingerprint reader, and we took that out and deployed that in a forward camp where they were able to use it to scan fingerprints in a test scenario and stuff. And then we've also taken it and we put it onto a jet boat, an attack boat, and actually ran it up and down the East Coast doing some tests and stuff, and had it linked through some satellite communication. So it was able to communicate back for the sensors back to the cloud environment all the time and stuff. So, this is some really cutting edge technology. And we know that people like Red Bull, this kind of thing is really valuable to their work environments.
One of our friends on the call has just asked, what are the dimensions of the rover? Thanks for the question, Anton. What are we talking about size-wise here? Yeah, not the.
So size-wise, it's the single nodes. It comes in two flavors. One is a hardened military spec case, which it's about 8 inches wide. So it kind of encapsulates the 2U server, and prevents it from letting signals out, from letting people know it's available. So that is the hardened case that comes with it, or you can get it in just a standard 2U shape. And then there's the Ultra is more about a desktop size, but the value and the really cool thing about the Ultra is it's designed to have a replaceable battery so that it continuously runs. So you can actually unplug the battery and plug in a new one without having to shut anything down.
Wow, that's really cool. And also, I understand there's options to be able to to actually have clusters of these servers as well. So you can, it's not just a matter of having one compute in a hardened case. You can actually have multiples.
Yeah, so it comes with the capability to cluster 5 of those together. And then we also have a larger shipping container version that allows us to put 15 of those within one structure with heating and air conditioning. That's in a mobile format that can be picked up and moved to different command centers or locations where you're needing that extra amount of compute and storage.
Wow, so this really provides quite an amazing and quite a powerful array of servers that we can actually use out in the field, and still have. And then you've got that ability to be able to link that system back to your OCI tenancy, and that was through using a shared synchronization object store. Is that right?
That's correct. So when you decide to get a rover, you can go into your OCI console, you request the rover, that then gets provisioned to you. And at that point, you can put VMs onto it, configure how you want the networking to work, set up all the configurations on it. So if I'm sending out to a remote location, I can make it very easy for the people out there just to kind of start it up and have all of the services up and running. It supports a portion of the backplane that gives it some of the capabilities that it needs to automate capabilities. And then that synchronization is really there so that, if you're in a bad spot and your network goes out, you're not going to lose any data. It's just going to sit there and stack up for you. And then once it gets a connection again, it will automatically start syncing that data back to your object storage environment. Yes. Over.
That's cool. And what are the sort of services or images that we can run on these platforms? It's not, there is just a certain set of those at the moment, is there?
Yeah, at this point, we have a certain set of images. We have an analytics image, database images. We have some identity management. It comes with the basic backplane, the ability to run a compute VM. It has the networking. It has your object storage. It has identity management capability. So when you log into it, it looks like you're on the console, even though you're on a rover in a remote location. So it has that same look and feel for the console UI and stuff. So it does. You can log into the UI of it, and it's like you're in an actual cloud.
Okay, so that is nice from the fact that you're not having to learn a different console. You can actually, it's got that same sort of look and feel to make it easy for you to actually get up and running.
Easy to get up and running, easy to start machines. And it's designed as an appliance, so there's nothing serviceable for a user inside this device. You know, if
Right.
they drop it and it breaks, they need to pick it up and ship it back. Depending what's on it, they may have to shoot it or blow it up for us. But you know, if it's top secret, they own it. They don't get to return it, and that's the way it goes. But you know, that is you know, the different areas what we're looking at. Over.
Have another question here. Dave is asking, have we explored running containerized applications with a local database on the edge?
Yes. So one of the things that we were doing with the identity management is we ran the identity management using Kubernetes. Now, we had to install Kubernetes ourselves and we had to configure that, but we used the Kubernetes Docker version of the identity management suite. So that made it easier to move it on and utilize it and stuff. Over.
Yeah, very good. And I think we may have already answered this, but Jason Lowe was asking, other than object store services, is there any other services that we can run directly with the edge? I think.
Well, right now it's just limited to block, objects, compute. So it's just your kind of your basic IaaS right now. There are some plans, and we're pushing for more of the PaaS-based services to be deployed on that. But because of the size of this, you know, we're limited on what we can move onto these devices and stuff. You know, the backplane is a big beast when you look at all of our other services and what we have to deploy and stuff. Anything VMware based we can deploy today, and you can create your own images and VMs to deploy onto them. We have a small marketplace of those today that we've been doing with customers. So there is a place in the marketplace where we're creating images for the Rover devices.
For the Rover. Oh, okay, right. So that's good. So it is an expanding set of marketplace images that will be available.
Yeah, there's just some small tweaks that we have to do to those images to make them run on the Rover.
Oh, okay. And is this going to be a reasonably priced service to run these?
No, it's actually fairly reasonably priced. You know, in Australia, it's about $208 a day, and that's the only charge. So you don't have to pay OCI Compute or storage or anything for that. You get it all within that one price and stuff. So that's 40 computes and a GPU that you're given with that you don't have to pay any more for after that initial fee.
Wow, okay.
And the Ultra is about $52 Australian a day. So
that was
it's
the
fairly
that was the
reasonably
smaller one, yeah.
Yeah, that's 8 CPUs.
But that's more if you wanted a hardened. Is that more if you wanted a hardened desktop, or is that a server type?
Well,
it's a small form factor server.
At 8 CPUs, it's a little bit bigger than a desktop. It's not quite a server. The key capability on this is it is the battery pack, is the ability to change the battery on this. So this is something that is designed so that it can be in a tent, it can be in a Jeep, you know, it can be mobile in a backpack, and you can have batteries and power it, you know, with solar, recharge batteries, have 2 batteries and alternate them and stuff. So it's really designed for someone who's going to be off grid and still needs access to information, maps, data that might be.
So there. you're on the go, but you're basically not going to fall foul of not having a very long extension cord.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting right now. The military, when they deploy a forward unit, some of these guys, they're carrying, you know, a number of servers. You know, they've got a huge amount of software that they take with them wherever they go today. I mean, the military is moving towards where every soldier is individually connected all the time.
Right.
You know, there's a network of IoT devices from all the soldiers that are feeding back to the central command post and stuff. And the communications between those is always restricted. And that, you know, there's a huge, you know, the wars are being fought electronically today and stuff. There are things that are going on in Ukraine that, you know, are prototyping some things that we're looking at.
So that is one thing. I mean, obviously, because this is very much a DoD type of, you know, use case, although there is obviously other use cases as well for edge compute. But Oracle is building a set of security services to work alongside these products to make sure that everything's nice and secure. Is that right?
Oh yeah, Oracle. You know, for the DoD, there's a lot of security services that the DoD requested, and Oracle from an OCI perspective is delivering for us. Things like our new threat intelligence that we've delivered. These are a lot of things that we see coming out of the requirements at both the DoD and the federal level here in the United States. There's the FedRAMP program in the United States has 1,100 controls that they require you to meet to be approved for that program and stuff. And OCI has been approved for FedRAMP Plus. We're on the JAB program. We have our data center is IL5. It's certified for IL2, IL4, IL5 workloads. That's the DoD level of the impact of that data on national security and stuff. And then we're building out top secret and secret regions for the government. Oracle is all in with the DoD. The Department of Defense is issuing a $10 billion contract to the 4 biggest hyper-converged cloud providers. And they invited Oracle, AWS, Azure, and Google to respond to this contract. And it's not a contract where you compete with another vendor. It's a contract where the government says you have to meet these security performance requirements to be able to house our workloads. And Oracle is one of the 4 hyperscalers in the world that are meeting those requirements from a security, a performance, availability. We are seen today now as one of the leading cloud providers for the Department of Defense.
So Tim,
and the reassuring thing about that is it's great for the defense. So I was just going to say, but taking that to the wider enterprise, it means that obviously we're providing a platform that is, meeting those requirements for defense. So that's going to more than meet the requirements for an enterprise customer and the data they want to protect.
Exactly.
Sorry, Franco,
I mean, Franco, you had a question?
Yeah, I did. So I'm just thinking about what you've just, discussed with Jason. And yes, there are lots of reasons why the Roving Edge makes a lot of sense for different defense applications. But when I look at what you basically highlighted, it's $52 a day. I quickly calculated 52 times 365 days in a year. That's around about $20,000 Australian for an 8 CPU device from Oracle. And you highlighted I didn't need to spend any more money on that. I could actually use whatever I wanted on that. So if I'm using something like an Oracle database, do I need to license the Oracle database on there, or it's okay, it's part of the consumption?
I'd have to double check.
Is that a good
I
question?
believe that you would need to license the products on, because you're not using our
Okay.
cloud service, you're using the product. But one of the things that you mentioned there, and I have focused a bit on the DoD. I spend most of my time there. I also support our federal business here, and we see this usage on the federal side quite a bit and stuff. For one of the things that's important from an Oracle perspective is when we bought the Sun business years ago, we inherited a huge group of scientists there who've been working on AI and machine learning, and one of those scientists had developed an algorithm called it was the MSET algorithm. It was about anomaly detection and sensor validating sensors and stuff. And after Oracle bought them, they've delivered another version of that called MSET 2, and that's part of our package. That's part of what we deliver. Now, we've seen a number of use cases where the MSET 2 algorithm is used in all the nuclear power plants in the United States as a way to monitor those plants and stuff. Almost all of them are using that technology to monitor everything that goes on. The algorithms have been determined to detect anomalies at least, I think it's like 2 weeks before any other system has ever been able to catch it. And our scientists will shoot out anybody who thinks they have a better anomaly detection service. They have, we worked on a couple RFPs with them, and they get involved, and they're willing to go out and prove that their algorithm, if you give them a set of data, they can identify a failure in that data at least 2 or 3 weeks before anybody else would see that failure. And this technology, there's a lot of use cases in the federal space and even in the civilian space where, the ability to put something in a remote location, be able to collect data and then send that back via satellite link to a center where, someone puts it into a data warehouse, they do some analytics and stuff. We're starting to see a lot of people interested in that. Over.
Cool. So you what you're highlighting is if there's organizations that I'll even say want to practice on-premise type capability, but use some innovative or creative ways where they can keep their compute and data close to them. These sorts of roving edge devices also not only can it make sense in the field, but it could also make sense in people's own data centers if required.
Yeah,
it's certainly
one good example of that I've seen, and again, it's a defense example, but I work with the USAMRIID, which is the U.S. Army's Medical Research Infectious Disease Group. And they, in their own labs and stuff, they have certain medical equipment that isn't certified by the government and isn't allowed to be connected to the government network. And so they have to run separate servers, separate networks, separate everything to support that environment. And then at the end of the day, they still have to get the data from there back to their government computers to be able to do an analysis of it and stuff. So, we're working with them to try to say, why don't you use a rover, and then we can move that data back into a secure cloud location for you. And then you can move it back into your DoD network and be able to actually utilize it, run analytics on it. So it does have some interesting use cases, and we're just starting to see some of the value out there, I believe.
Sounds like the possibilities are endless, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, and the other one I really, hearing you, Jason, and yourself talk is if you've got these organizations, whether it's a mining or defense or even university or education or healthcare, if somebody wanted to create a SaaS-like experience on these devices that were self-contained, and they wanted to keep the compute and data close to them, you've actually got a reasonable capability where you can practice cloud principles, automation, the self-healing and all that sort of thing, given what Oracle's done with these boxes. Yes.
Oh, yeah. All of that gets built into it. And it would be very easy to set up a fully configured environment, the network, have it ship out, and a user just plug in the network and the box does everything for them. They don't ever have to log into it. They just have to turn it on and give it a network, and it could do all the work for them.
Yeah.
That's so, where Tim, we see value.
Now, Tim, you said, hey, look, the way you organize it is you log into your cloud account and you should be able to, click on it, configure it, and then that thing will be shipped to you. Where does it appear on your cloud console capability? Under which category?
It's under the hybrid section.
Right.
So it's considered a hybrid technology. So it's in there with our VMware cloud service, and the rover's in there. There's a couple other things there, but it's in the hybrid section, and typically you can go off in there and have a look at that.
Okay, so we're sort of hitting the tail end of the conversation here today. If anybody does want more information, Jason Grogan is the contact for any Roving Edge questions, jason.grogan@oracle.com. So any parting words before we wrap up the recording? Tim?
I think everybody should, have a chance to look at it and see if it meets their business needs. Clearly OCI is here to stay, and, Oracle is really, we're just keep going from strength to strength when it comes to delivering new services, new capabilities. So, have a look at all of our stuff, and hopefully the rover is something that might interest you with some of your use cases. Thank you.
And Jason Grogan, any parting words?
Yeah, as I said, I think it's really, it's only, bound by your own imagination as to what you can use these edge services for. We've packaged up a really cool set of services there with the compute, the block and object storage, and having it being able to synchronize back to your tenancy. Just to Dave Reed's question there, I think it's slightly different from the storage gateway, Dave, but we can go into that another time. But as Tim said, there's a lot of images that we can work with you to get onto this box. The GPU enablement as well. It's just a very interesting use case that allows us, the customers and defense, to have a tenancy in the cloud, but also reach out to places where they need compute and they need to pick up a lot of data that can then come back in and be processed in the cloud. So yeah, it's exciting times.
Thank you, Jason Grogan, especially given you were wandering through the streets of Brisbane through that taxi. I think I'm going to negotiate doing something similar again, but maybe we'll get you to do it through the Queen Victoria markets in Melbourne next time. A bit more colour.
Yeah, I'm closer to South Melbourne market, but I think they're refurbing Queen Vic, so it will be South Melbourne. We'll do that one.
Okay. that would be good. And a huge thank you to Tim Hickey. Tim, we're going to find another topic to get you back on here again soon. Very generous and lots of knowledge from you. It's great to hear what's happening in another part of the world.
Yep. Same to you, Franco. Thank you for your time, and everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm going to try to get some sleep tonight.